By guitar music, they can send everybody through Friday live. X, YouTube, all that good stuff. Big show today. Chinese spy and Congressman Eric Swalwell announces for governor of California. This should be absolutely fun. Department of Justice is suing Gavin Newsom over giving illegals college benefits, SNAP benefits. Who? We're going to ask that question. And, well, it may surprise you, may not, who the SNAP benefits actually pay off to in the aggregate. Trump's drill baby drill idea has got the eco freaks blowing a gasket. We'll explain why. Crockett's crock full of S. We'll get into that. Chino Man and 3 others were indicted on a $90 million tax fraud scheme that included, and I mean, in my opinion, abusing and keeping the slaves of those here in the country illegally. Has to do with temporary staffing agencies and all that, one in Corona, so it's got a local comment all the way through. The Mission Inn in Riverside, is it for sale or not? Paris Auto Speedway's last race night of destruction is rained out, so you have to figure out something else fun to do on that. But the big deal of the day, big fight in the grandstands at Weber Valley Speedway. Whoa. We thought. Oh, let's see if we, there it is.
Stop fighting in the grandstand. Security's on the way. Y'all think about it. Stop fighting in the grandstand. Security's on the way. Y'all think about it. Stop fighting in the grandstand. Security's on the way. Y'all think about it.
That's the good old Weber Valley Speedway. Big fight in the grandstands. Check them out. Check out where Weber Valley Speed, those guys do some great work. I don't know what sort of team of riders they got working on that, but they're absolutely hilarious on that. Delve into some of these bigger stories of the day and week. But I wanted to get to you this off the top. Donald J. Trump today met with Zoran Mamdani, the newly elected mayor of New York. Some call him a communist. Some call him a Muslim sympathizer. Boy, my tongue's tied today. A lot of things. He's a commie socialist at best. His policies will not work, have proven to fail. Now that he's in head man of New York City's government, we're going to see that. But one of the first questions out of the box, and it was absolutely hilarious in some respects, but it just goes to show you one thing: Trump is not thin-skinned. He can take a punch. He can obviously deliver one, as we've well known for the past 10 or so years, especially since he's been on the campaign trail. But the first question out of the deal was, hey, good old Zoran has called you a fascist. What do you think of that? Do you still stand on that, Zoran? Put him in a spot right off the get-go. But it was good old Donald J. that really bailed him out of this. But here we go.
To Stephen Nelson, he asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay, you can just say yes, so, okay,
Yeah.
it's easier. It's easier than explaining it.
I want to.
So there you go. Trump just blows it off. Yeah. And for all those that say you can't take a punch, and those clearly a gotcha question laid out to Zoran, as they say. But Trump blew it off, said, yeah, he called me a fascist. That's fine. Trump understands as well as anybody. Campaigns are campaigns, and you run on them. And we all deal with the consequences of it. Here's another clip, as they say, from the Zoran Trump meeting in the White House today. Here we go. We thought.
Well, thank you very much. We've just had a great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people, starting with the early primaries against some very tough people, very smart people. And he beat them easily. And I congratulated him. And we talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built, and food and prices and the price of oil.
The price of oil, and we'll get to that one here in a bit, because he's got the eco freaks blowing a gasket over here in California because he's going to drill baby drill and they're having a heart attack. But look at how cordial Trump is. Hey, we're going to work together. And this is how you govern. This is how it should be. This is how we used to do it. We fight like cats and dogs. Alley cat and a junkyard dog. Just like Snoopy. Here's, flying his makeshift airplane doghouse. We fight as hard, and as they say, there's all's fairs in love, war, and politics. Once that's over, it's time to govern. Mamdani won. Trump gives him his due, and hopefully they live happily ever after. Next one up on the hit parade. Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Please. I appreciated the meeting with the president, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City, and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the president. I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
So then they started the question and answer period of that after they made their opening statements. And you heard, we led with the first question about the fascist deal that Zoran done and Trump bailed him out. But this stuff is just part and parcel of how you govern and how Trump understands. And Trump's trying to bring this back. And plus, Trump is trying to repair the 45 and unders that voted in big chunks for him and are still pissed off about a lot of things, and some things rightfully so. We'll get into this and more in a little bit on today's show, but it's going to be very fascinating as we wrap up this week's full of topics. Of course it is. It's always interesting when we wrap it up. We'll delve into the Trump part of Mamdani and the press. Jack Posovic's questions were pretty poignant on that, and he didn't let up on it, which was a good thing, even despite some people that are teed off at him too. Hey, when you're in government, you're lucky if you can make 1.3% of the people happy. But I want to get into the Eric Swalwell's announcement today that he announced for governor. And he announced it on the Kimmel show. And obviously, it's a slight, not a slight, a stab, a big stab at the political heart of Donald J. Trump. Swalwell has been very well known as being locked into the Chinese Communist Party. He's an agent of theirs. As we've seen many a time, what is my, oh, that's what. See, many a time, let's say, of all the things that are going on, but there's Swalwell with Fang Fang, the Chinese spy that was over there, that he was over there screwing, that they sent up. She was in there screwing 2 mayors on the West Coast, stealing our secrets. Yet Swalwell is sitting there, just soaking it all up. And he thinks he's going to be governor. It's absolutely freaking ridiculous. We elect these cats in California. Congressman, he's on the city council at Dublin, which is up there in NorCal. Then he gets in this, and it's everything, hate Trump. We're going to do the gays, rise the gas prices, all this other stuff. COVID con, whole enchilada. Goes on the Kimmel show. Here's the intro from Jimmy. No wonder he got thrown off. He should be thrown off. If you want to do a political show, that's fine. But don't try to play that you're some sort of independent journalist type.
Next guest is a popular member of the House. He's from the 14th District of California. He does battle daily with the forces of MAGA, and the president does not like him at all. Please.
Does battle with MAGA and the president and does not like him at all. Well, you know what, Sonny boy, you don't like America, period. You communist spy asshole. That's how Kimmel should have been. How in the hell do you even have an office? You treasonous sellout. Of course, Kimmel is along that road, and he will back that to the hilt 1,000%. This is what's wrong with our politics today. Is you can have out and out. Remember back in the day in the 50s? Robert Kennedy, that and the McCarthy hearings, they're flushing out the communists in our system. But here's more, and this is the stuff you didn't hear. You hear the one clip, and we'll get to that everybody's playing, but that's why people listen to this show, because you get the in-depth coverage that you get nowhere else.
For one moment. In fact, he has acted this entire time like somebody who really has something to hide. But sometimes, not most of the time, but sometimes enough public sentiment can be built and some measure of justice can be brought. And the public sentiment is what drove my Republican colleagues to do the right thing, not because of anything inside them, and certainly not because of anything.
Well, if they were going to do the right thing, they'd be throwing your ass out of Congress. Like they did, at least the Republicans threw George Santos out. The Democrats will not get rid of your spying ass. So don't sit up there with your sanctimonious little speech and, oh, yeah, Trump and this and that. You know, it was Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mason, Lauren Boebert that made it happen. You Democrats went along with it because you thought, oh, we're going to get Trump again and it's backfiring on you. Yet you cannot give them praise. And then, now that all the files are released, now you got a big problem. You heard the deal of coming out with JP Morgan and the potential laundering money for Epstein and the crew. What do you think Jamie Dimon, my opinion, head of JP Morgan, Chase Bank, biggest, probably the most powerful financial person in the world, jumped ship from never Trumper to, oh yeah, I think we're going to support Trump in 24. When he figured, and everybody pretty much knew he was going to win.
You're not going to believe what happened.
This is how disingenuous these cats are. And you look at it each day, and you see they just blatantly lie in your face. There's another clip from the Swalwell governor's announcement on Jimmy Kimmel's show. Here we go.
Like a defendant who went out of their way to like destroy evidence or conceal evidence or hide evidence, that's a consciousness of guilt. And you can use that behavior to imply or infer they did something wrong. I'll just say this. He's not acting like somebody who has nothing to hide, and we shouldn't take him at his word. But this, to me, is just a motivating factor for why we have to be in the majority. The majority matters. It means subpoena power, accountability, power of the person.
The reason you want to be in the majority is because you don't want to go to jail. Swalwell. Besides the Chinese spy, now you're like pencil neck Schiff. Appears allegedly lying on your home loan documents saying your principal residence is in Maryland. When you're supposed to be, your principal residence, if you are a congressman elected from California, you're supposed to be in California. Not that you got an address there, you got a dump box, your principal residence. And when you say on a federal loan document, my principal residence is in Maryland, that means something because you signed that document under penalty of perjury. That's why you want to be in the majority. That's why you're going to fight so hard, is because your ass is on the chopping block. This you got to read or see. This is his first ad for Swalwell for governor. It's very entertaining.
Well, and it's this simple. The next governor of California has two jobs. One, keep the worst president in our history out of our homes, out of our streets, and out of our lives.
Bye.
From the party that wants to run every aspect, and Eric Swalwell wants to run every aspect of your life, wants to take all your money, wants to have communism, socialism, dictatorship. Over your life. And we're still trying to flush out the inflation that you voted for. These guys got hubris beyond repair.
Food at the grocery store is getting more expensive.
No one will keep Californians safer than I will. No one.
You want illegals running through. You want people rioting in the streets or taking over property. You stood with them. You stood with the colleges. UC Berkeley, which is right by where your constituents are. to throttle free speech. The latest one is they're over there trying to beat the hell out of the Charlie Kirk, the Turning Point USA people at UC Berkeley. You didn't say a damn thing. In fact, you egged it on.
Nancy Pelosi selected me for the Intelligence Committee and to help lead the impeachment of a corrupt president.
Yeah, you want Miss Corrupt, who put you on the Intelligence Committee to try to keep you from being in jail because she needed a vote. You're a Chinese freaking spy. You sold out America time and time again for $1.
Californians will never bend the knee. And
Californians will never bend the knee. No kings and all that. Resist fascism. See, just like Mamdani, Trump blows it off. Who's promoting the same thing? Communist Mamdani. The government's going to run everything. We're going to have government grocery stores. They're going to own the homes. You're going to get this, that. Everything's going to be free, free, free.
And two, bring us a new California. California is the fourth largest economy in the world. So shouldn't we be a state where you can take your first job, have your first kid, and buy your first home in the same decade?
And you were in charge of doing exactly taking that dream away from the young people by jacking the prices up, interest rates, no drillability, drill energy up, cutting our farmland, raising our grocery prices. You, Eric Swalwell, are responsible for the exact things you say you're going to fix. Create a crisis where one doesn't exist and walk in with a solution. Hegelism. This is Hegelism 101.
And one where you can fill that home with food and flood it with light. I'm Eric Swalwell. We can build.
Oh, yeah, they'll build a new California, all right. A California where 98.7% of you are the slaves and 1.3%, like Eric Swalwell, the Pelosi's, Newsom, is going to run. Mamdani on the other side is going to run your life. That's the new California they have in store for you. Lock, stock, and barrel. And if you think that isn't enough, this was a deal with Fang Fang, the Chinese spy, who was hired by the Chinese Communist Party to use her vagina to go after Swalwell and company. To sell out America. And that's exactly what Swalwell did. Here's Tucker Carlson from 2020.
A Chinese intelligence agent called Feng Feng, or as she renamed herself when she came to this country, Christine Feng, became a force within the Democratic Party of California. Along the way, she cultivated a number of Democratic office holders. Feng had sexual relationships with at least 2 of them, identified in the Axios story as mayors from Midwestern cities. Feng also began a relationship with a man called Eric Swalwell. You may recognize that name. Eric Swalwell is a member of the United States Congress. Swalwell sits on the House Intelligence Committee. He is privy to this country's most closely held secrets. Feng's relationship with Swalwell began in 2012. Like so many Chinese spies, Feng used college as her cover. She enrolled as a student at a university in the Bay Area, and she immediately joined a number of left-wing identity politics organizations on campus.
Do we need to go any further? And that's what he was on the city council. I don't think he became he ran for Congress in 12, so he didn't really become a congressman until 13. This is while he was on the Dublin City Council. Fang Fang's over there screwing him so he can screw America. He was selling you out on the Dublin City Council before he got to Congress. And Pelosi puts him on the Intelligence Committee a hold of this. Holy cow. Using our universities. This is why we got to clean this whole system up. No HB1B visas till we straighten this out. No foreign students, no immigration, nothing. Till we figure out who's here trying to sell out America or sell us down the river or take us into a communist dictatorship. I don't know how much more serious it's got to get. But this is the only good thing. Not that I'm not encouraging Swalwell to run. This is part of the plan we laid out yesterday. The more Democrats that get in the race, the better. Because if we can get it, if we can pull the Hail Mary pass, like the Democrats did in District 4, 2024, took over a Republican area, got their top two candidates, and right now there's a Democratic state senator, District 4, in a 60-40 Republican plus 20 district. It doesn't matter which one of the rats. We're doomed. Katie Porter, Swalwell, Baccaria, Bonta if he jumps back in, or whatever. DOJ sues Newsom over California measure giving illegal immigrants college tuition benefits. The Fang Fang deal. We should have done this 10 years ago. Finally, Trump's getting around to cleaning this crap up. Get to the SNAP benefits here. This is Steve Crowder. And all SNAP benefits change my mind. Who are the ones that benefit from SNAP? We know it's all the grocery companies. Walmart's profit on their groceries comes from SNAP. Probably a lot from McDonald's and everywhere else that's going on this. But Steve Crowder got one of the little emotional, probably college student or just very young lady who's all, oh, save the whales and we can't be mean to anybody and you're just a mean white hillbilly.
Determine what these people, everyone deserves treats. First off, not everyone deserves treats. Second, for me, it's pretty simple. You pay, you choose. I pay, the taxpayer, I choose. Milk, eggs, meat, produce, and fabric softener. Otherwise, get to work. Is that fair?
No.
No, that's not fair?
There should be some choice in that.
No, that's not fair. There should be some choice in that. They're saying, you're mean. No, Crowder is exactly right. You pay, you decide. I pay, I decide. And if you're taking money, a force of a gun from me or Steve Crowder or you or anybody else, then am I or my family going to have to suffer so you guys can party hardy?
I don't think there should be any choice. Our soldiers get MREs and they have to pay for them. Why should someone who's able-bodied, choosing not to work, get anything better than our soldiers? Are you aware of so SNAP, because you mentioned this is true. If you go to Amazon, right?
All right.
SNAP EBT, okay, right here. So I work and pay taxes, right? And there are a lot of Americans who work and pay taxes, who are poor, low-income Americans, right?
Yeah.
Not on SNAP. You get 50% off your Prime membership. You get unlimited groceries for $4.99 a month. Let me show you what's in the groceries. Lavazza coffee, $25. Rockstar, Ghost Energy. Hey, let's go down to snacks and treats. When you say choice, these are the choices right now that tax pre-filled pumpkin buckets of assorted Halloween candy. Does that seem like helping someone with a tough break? And how do we make the case to low-income Americans that they should fund that? Because they are.
A lot of them have children.
Hey, so do the people paying taxes who are working for a living.
Okay.
Right? I mean, because people say it's taken from the rich, given to the poor.
The whole yes. Oh, but they have children. Yeah. And if you want your children to succeed, you should be setting the example of how to do it. And that's getting out there and busting your ass and going out there and making it happen, not asking for a handout. That's a path to destruction. Russia, China, Venezuela.
And you look obviously very svelte, and I'm sure you know that obesity is a problem in the country. It doesn't affect you. Probably affects me more than you. I have some that I could lose. But the obesity rate for low-income women in this country, okay, who are not on SNAP, 40%. You know what it is for those on SNAP? 57%. So working class Americans with kids not on SNAP, struggling, are paying to make other people fat.
You're paying to make other people fatter. It's bad enough that people that are working are 40% overweight. The ones that are getting the SNAP benefits are 60% overweight. This is what they're doing. They're destroying you. That's why they want you on that. They want you fat, dumb, and happy. And they're destroying your lives. They don't care how they got to do it, because they know once you do, or once you're dependent on them, then they've got you by the short hairs. But they will use these emotional pleas and whatever to sell or screw you down the river. And it's absolutely 5,000% ridiculous. Maybe we'll get our act together. Sometimes I wonder, but we do need to move, or we've got, again, if we keep on the trajectory, it's going to crash at some point. And we better figure it out, or we're going to be in a situation almost none of us are going to like or want to deal with. But
Got about 1 minute, Roy.
As they say, we'll be joining the Mighty Met in about a minute. We got to fix this. We'll get to the Rob Bonta story of the secret video. We'll get you the Crockett. Yes, we'll get more into the Trump amendment stuff too. A couple more other things we got, hopefully, in the last half hour when we roll this in. Trying not only to save
30 seconds.
California, the United States, but the world. Looks like Putin's saying, hey, Trump's deal is good. We might even have a deal on Ukraine yet. Who knows? We could, we're at a crossing point here we're in that fork in the road, but we got a lot of forks.
Here we go. 10 seconds.
Support America. PatriotSwitch.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
Oh, crap. Go for it, Roy. This didn't fire.
That's on K-Side Guitar Music. It comes on every Monday through Friday live, 5:30 on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band. Join your vast video audience in the Evil FB Network, Rumble, X, YouTube, all that good stuff. Man, what a day of that. check out the beginning if you want to see the big fight in the grandstands at Weber Valley Speedway. We went through the announcement of Eric Swalwell, the Chinese spy infiltrating our government, congressman, piece of trash. The only good news is we need more Democrats in to pull my strategy. I said, if we can get, just like the rats did in 2022 in Senate District 4, if we can get Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton in the top two, then we will get a center-right candidate. Just like they did in a 40-60 Republican plus 20 district. And California's exact opposite. It depends if you want to save America, if you want to save California especially. Get your ish together. We need to split the vote equally, get 20% on Chad, 20% on Steve, and then hold the rest of the Democrats, which they've got enough candidates in there to do, under 20%, and then may the best man win between Hilton and Bianco. It's the only shot you got, because they will elect Katie Porter, Swalwell, Baccaria, whomever, Tony Thurman. They will, the California, if you put them against Steve Hilton and or Chad Bianco, they lose. The rats will win. All I'm asking everybody is to get their frickin' act together. The SNAP benefits, who it benefits. Steve Crowder had a great interview of little Missy, who's all emotional. SNAP benefits benefit the large corporations, and that's exactly what Mamdani or Eric Swalwell or Gavin Newsom is trying to shove down your throat. We get into more of that, but the secret video. Rob Bonta, B.S. Bonta, as we call him, Attorney General. He's been implicated. We ran the C.C. Wood story yesterday, outlining the mafia style of the Bonta family. Rob, who was Assemblyman, got appointed by Newsom as Attorney General. Then Mia Bonta, his wife, took over his assembly seat. They're from the Oakland area. The Dong family has been charged in corruption along with Shang Tao, the mayor, and that whole thing going on up there. Dan Noyes in Channel 7 did a report, and there's supposedly a secret video of maybe Rob Bonta in some compromising positions. Say it ain't so. Here's ABC Bay Area.
A defendant in the bribery and corruption case surrounding former Oakland Mayor Shang Tao allegedly took a secret compromising video of California Attorney General Rob Bonta. That is just one of the explosive accusations in a letter obtained by the ABC 7 News I-team that appears to have sped up the FBI investigation. Good evening, I'm Amma Dates.
I'm Dan Ashley. Thanks for joining us here. The I-team's Dan Noyes is investigating all of this and is here with the latest. Dan.
Well, Dan and Amma, this letter may also help to explain why the Attorney General spent $468,000 of campaign contributions on legal fees to help him deal with FBI investigators. I want to emphasize that Rob Bonta has not been charged in this case, and there's no indication he is a suspect. In the letter dated May 9th, 2024 to Attorney General Rob Bonta, Mario Juarez writes about his business partners from Oakland-based California Waste Solutions. I have firsthand knowledge of various criminal activities perpetrated by the DeWong family, including money laundering, illegal political donations, falsification of contracts, and exploitation of straw donors. These activities extend to facilitating prostitution for elected officials, including minors.
Rob Bonta, Attorney General, knew far more of what was going on in this investigation with the Duongs than any of us knew.
Stephen Tavares runs the political substack East Bay Insiders. He first broke news of the Juarez letter, and I obtained it from another source.
The letter shows that Mario was despondent and that He was basically going to get back retribution against the Duongs.
Mario Juarez was partners with David and Andy DeWong in Evolutionary Homes, a company that converted shipping containers to housing for the homeless. But Juarez writes that on May 3rd, 2024, the DeWongs locked him out of the showroom on the Oakland waterfront and that they ordered an attack by a group of armed men. Quote, I was threatened with firearms and a knife, assaulted and robbed of personal belongings, including a gold chain and Rolex watch. The I-Team obtained these photos showing Juarez's injuries, his swollen face and head. He goes on to say he was coerced into delivering an apology to David DeWong, while Andy and Christina DeWong recorded the interaction. Then, just 1 month later,
and he starts shooting back, like firing back. Pa, 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 pa.
Juarez got into a shootout with men who broke into his SUV. Tavares believes it's no coincidence that just days later, the FBI raided the homes of David and Andy DeWong and of then Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao and her partner, Andre.
So this is part of the whole allegations. The Bontas, it seems, have gotten a lot of contributions from the Dongs. The FBI's been indicting in federal bribery and corruption case. And remember, Sheng Tao is just like Dana the Hammer Williamson. When the feds came to originally interview her, they said she wasn't a target of the investigation. Now, why does BS Bonta be hiring almost $500,000 in attorneys? Whether it was over the contributions, he returned about 150,000 of them, spent 400,000, 500,000, 450, something like that, on legal fees. Says, I did nothing wrong. More from Noise
Jones.
11 days later, the raids happen. It strongly suggests that the FBI had found Mario Juarez, made him the star witness. When this got out that he was cooperating, they moved quick.
Some of what Mario Juarez wrote in that letter appears in the federal bribery and corruption indictment. His name isn't there, but he's believed to be listed as co-conspirator one. Wilson Leung is a former federal prosecutor.
It is interesting that this letter came out, gosh, more than a year ago now. And some of its allegations seem to have been proven sufficiently correct so that the feds are willing to take action on some of them.
Lawyers for Andy DeWong emailed me that he vigorously denies the baseless allegations in this letter. David DeWong's lawyers say he strongly denies them. They both argue that Juarez has credibility issues and cannot be believed. Dan Newman, spokesperson for Bonta's re-election campaign, confirms the Attorney General received the letter and forwarded it to the FBI.
Oh, man. How do you get involved with these kind of characters? There have been rumors, just like with Dana Hammer the Williamson, Gavin Newsom, McCluskey, Baccaria, Greg Campbell, and the whole lot of them up there. Now they don't. Now they've got Harmeet Dillon, Bill O'Saley, Pam Bondi, and I forget the guy who's up there on the NorCal DOJ on their rear ends.
Juarez also wrote, Bonta should know that Andy DeWong in particular has a recording of you in a compromising situation.
What? Andy DeWong in particular has a recording of Rob Bonta in a compromising situation, is what has been stated here from the Great Dan Noise on ABC 7 Bay Area.
And that he routinely engages in entertaining elected and other officials to extract recordings without their
Now, what better would you have to extrapolate bribes than to have politicians in powerful positions in compromising positions? And we can all conjure up what those compromising positions would be.
knowledge for later use in blackmail circumstances.
A recording of him in a compromising situation, although it's uncertain what that means, it's also uncertain whether that's true. So there's a lot of questions that this letter prompts.
The spokesman for Rob Bonta tells me the Attorney General is not concerned about that report of a compromising video and says Mario Juarez wrote that letter as a desperate guy at a desperate moment with walls closing in.
So would you believe BS Rob Bonta if he told you on the 4th of July at noon that there was not a cloud in the sky and the sunshine was out? I, for one, would not take his word for it. I would go outside and look, even though the probability of that is like 99.999%. Oh, I think these cases, along with the one with the Hammer, Williamson, and Newsom, I bet you their rear ends are puckering all over Sacramento. And, well, they should. Because, well, I haven't got into the Jasmine Crockett deal, but I wanted to run that deal because of her stuff on the Epstein files and that other chick that was in there we'll get to in a minute. But again, and Jasmine Crockett is running neck and neck. You put John Cornyn, Ken Paxton, whomever. She's running with a chance to win if the polls are right down there and there's multiple polls. She could win as U.S. Senator to replace Cornyn. And she's a complete loon, on top of being a communist. Probably a Chinese spy, too. But anyway, she was on with the nasty woman, as Trump called her, Caitlin Collins of CNN. Here we go.
You talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand when you make it.
I never said it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up. You're trying to couch it.
Donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled. And that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin...
Shut up. That Jeffrey Epstein that made the contribution to Lee Zeldin did it in 2021. Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in 2019. So that right there should tell you it's not the same person. And whether you can couch it that you didn't specifically say something that wasn't accurate, you know exactly what you were trying to do. You lying sack of crap. And Texas may put this lady in as senator. Like I said, she's running within 2 or 3 or 4 points in polling against Cornyn or Paxton. For U.S. senator, Texas might bump this broad up from crazy congressman to U.S. senator. I kid you not.
had something to say. All he had to say was it was a Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein. So at least
We know that, you idiot. You knew that. You should, anybody who should looking at that, well, how does he make a donation from the frickin' grave? A lie is when you're willfully trying to mislead somebody. And even though you may be technically factually correct, you were trying to willfully mislead the American public that Trump had something to do with this, and that and then his cabinet secretaries when Republicans took money from Epstein, when you know 98.7% of it went from the Democrats and the left and the stupid left.
I wasn't trying to mislead people. Now, have I dug in to find out who this doctor is? I have not.
Was I trying to mislead people? No. Holy cow. Did I get into this? No. Then why are you spouting it off, lady, if you weren't trying to willfully mislead and lie to the American people? This is delicate. She's not technically a congresswoman. That's why she's a delegate. She's there from the Virgin Islands in Congress. She doesn't have a vote, but she can sit on committees and she can make speeches and comment on bills. She just doesn't have a vote. This is this Plaskett broad who was trying to pull the same stuff. And then she tries to run this crap when called on it. This is another CNN interview. Here we go.
To get information to get to the truth. But at this time, this was happening after he had already pleaded guilty to state prostitution charges. And then there was that Miami Herald article that came out in 2018 detailing how widespread the sexual abuse was, interviewing 80 women who said that he sexually abused her. So abused them, I should say. So I'm wondering, as you look back, do you think that it was an error in judgment to be communicating with him at all? Do you have any regrets?
Well, listen, I think Jeffrey Epstein is a reprehensible person. Absolutely disgusting.
So she asks, oh, you're up there saying, that he's a reprehensible doing all this stuff. You're texting back and forth with him at their hearings because you say you want to get to the truth. No, you wanted to get Trump. And this is how you're going to justify it. And this is even more criminal of how she's trying to justify texting to Epstein in 2019 at the hearings and then trying to say, Epstein said, I got info on Trump. I got the dirt. Then why don't you lay it out, lady? Why didn't you lay it out in 19? What you were talking about? You're supposed to be this big lawyer, prosecutor, went through college, all this stuff. Well, you were, while the white man was beating you down. This is how she justifies it.
Lived in a house during childhood with a mother who had been sexually abused by her dad. And I know.
So, okay. I will tell you this. I lived in a house where my dad was sexually abused by his older brother as a kid. So does that give me the justification to go out there and lie or try to spread lies against the president or anyone else or somebody walking down the street because I don't like them? That's your justice? That's the lawyer you are? That's the person you are? And you try to justify it and get the sympathy and all this other crap. And I can tell you this, my aunt was sexually abused by her stepfather on the other side of the family. So I can tell you what happens to a family from firsthand experience when all this crap is going on. Can you use that for justification for lying or And not only cavorting with criminals, of sex trafficking girls and who knows what, and money laundering, the allegations from JP Morgan. And why weren't you asking any questions about that? No, you had to get Trump because you hated him, like Swalwell, Pelosi, Newsom, and Biden, and everyone else, and Kamala Harris and the whole frickin' crew. But to use that as an excuse, that just shows what a loathsome human being you are, Stacey Plaskett. That you will use a tragedy like that not to help people, not to rescue the girls that were abused or help them deal with it. No, you should, if that was your experience in life, you should be number one out there after them, not making false accusations against Trump or anyone else, like your buddy Crockett. And I'm going to tell you this. What's the commonality you just seen between these two? What about the congresswoman that's just in charge with stealing $5 million from us, the taxpayers, to get her reelected? Number three, what's the commonality? You want to get into the dark stuff? We have some really evil people running our government and inside this. And it goes not only as electeds, but through that, that's why you see the problems in the FBI and the DOJ and the CDC and the everything else. On a positive front, Vladimir Putin said, yeah, the proposal Trump made to settle the Ukraine war looks like it has a lot of potential possibility. First time we've heard that. But of course, Trump's to blame for everything. That's probably the first major crack that we've had in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Someday we'll figure this stuff all out, hopefully. Couple local stories. The mission is it for sale or not? We've had two stories come up. One, the Riverside Record said there's been an $85 million offer on the table to buy it, and that they were going to sell it, Kelly Roberts and the Mission Inn. Then they put out a statement saying no, they didn't. So, or basically, kind of. We'll see how that all shakes out. Chino Man and three others indicted on a $90 million fraud tax case involving illegals. Story on My News LA. Here it is. Federal prosecutors allege that along with tax fraud, the defendants defrauded numerous clients by failing to pay employment taxes withheld by the wages of temporary workers, many of them described as undocumented immigrants and used as unpaid taxes to fund luxurious lifestyles. Some of the defendants documented with their extravagant lifestyles on Instagram and other social media, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Many of them described as undocumented immigrants, meaning illegal aliens. What have we told you? Shay, Elena, Johanna. The 21st century slaves are the illegal aliens because people are taking advantage of them. Because they can. And you are championing it, you and the whole crew. If you had any sort of compassion for your fellow man or woman, you would be staunchly opposed to illegal immigration. You would be defending Donald J. Trump and trying to clean this up so we don't have to do this. They're ripping off. Not paying the payroll taxes that you say they pay in and that. They're not going to say anything because you know what the threat is? If you mouth off, you're going back to Venezuela or Peru or China or wherever. They're the 21st century slaves. And we've sanctioned this for 50 years. And as the late, great Phyllis Schlafly of the Eagle Forum said, Democrats want the votes, Republicans want the cheap labor. So with the Dick Cheney, Halliburton Cheney, and all them and the Bushes and all that, you seen it, Cheney's funeral, along with Fauci sitting next to Mad Cow. It's all something else, but maybe we'll get it. Hopefully, people will start getting their heads screwed on straight. And we'll turn this ship around because Lord knows we really need to do that. Take it away, Sean.
All right, Roy. Well, at least the ending worked. You know how that goes sometimes.
Yes. No explanation needed.
Yeah. All right. Well, try and have a good weekend. Who knows what the hell is going to happen? So.
Yep, we'll do that, and we'll come back and battle her on Monday.
All right. Take it easy, Roy.
a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never, ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.